Tabor. We're going to be talking through this the championship slate. Sorry, I'm a little the British Open. I guess I never know what to call this. It was the Open Championship. Now it's the British. There's too many different names, but I'm excited about it. It's good to see you again, Sheets. I know you've been on a little bit of a hot streak. You actually came in really had a chance last week at the big stuff. It's nice to see. So talk about a little bit of that, and then we'll get into the slate.
Yeah, I had one lineup which was like fifth or sixth going into going into day three, and that was also about 12th going into day four, and then I ended up with two lineups. Ended up with like 9th and 13th in the classic slate, which was good to see. And I'm having issues with this Open Championship because whenever I run these builds or whatever, I'm getting these same guys that I'm playing every week, and it just feels as though I'm being too recency biased, and on a course like this with might have some real nasty wind in the back nine, just the major stuff and like all the variants that can go with this tournament. Really feel as though we're supposed to get off of some of these obvious plays, and I feel myself continuing to just feel like sucker plays, and we'll get to them when we get to them. Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know. I feel pretty good about where some of these guys are and how some of the guys have been playing. But I do like it's golf. You know what I mean? We don't need to play the mega chalk. But I'm, even going through your ownerships, it's not. I'm actually surprised. It doesn't seem like anyone. Even Scheffler only around 20%. I'm guessing it's going to be higher than that, but. That's what seems to be, the case throughout the industry. And I just don't see anybody so high owned where I feel like, okay, I need to really get off of this or whatever. My guess is in the higher buy-ins, you're going to see Scheffler around 35, 40%. That's the one thing. But I hear you. And I've got some creative names here. I've done my research. So we'll get into some stuff, mostly in the cheaper range, and we'll see how it goes. There's a lot of, it feels like you could play two and a half studs and then try to hit big with some of these cheap guys later on. So that's one thing I've been looking at. Should we pull up your screen, or do you want me to do it?
It's easier with yours, I think.
Okay, let's do it. Let me just do this really quick, and I will be right in there. All right. Here we go. So I'm just going through, and that's just sorting by your ownership, seeing sort of what I was talking about it being fairly spread out. And I feel like I've heard a lot of different people say a lot of different names, and I'm very interested to see where the ownership actually ends up. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, at the top, Sheets, what do you like above the 10K range? We've got a lot of guys to choose from, and they all look like pretty good options to me.
Yeah, I've been basically on Scheffler every tournament, just because of the way lineup construction works. Hasn't exactly worked out most of the time, but I'm getting a similar type thing. Listen, I have nothing wrong with the play or whatever. I don't see him being as highly owned as maybe you would, even in the big buy-in. But so many guys. You know what I mean? There's so many like awesome guys that you can play.
And he's in a tier of his own.
Yes, that's true. And again, Rory fits the bill of that guy that again, it just. People are going to want to play. I guess he plays okay, and he's got that Scottish Open Championship feel. And I don't know. And Aberg is going to be popular, I imagine. Maybe Xander might not. Now, like you said, they're all going to kind of come in, weirdly. The two guys that we can talk about, I think, are going to be low owned. Are John Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau. Mm-hmm. Bryson, particularly at 11.5, is like that's a pretty aggressive price if you want to know the truth. And you think that this is not exactly the setup for him, you would think that, and while all of that is true, you're still getting Bryson DeChambeau at under 10%. So. I'm currently in my builds not getting there, which is why I am struggling. Like I said, I think these are the guys I kind of want to play. And the other guy I kind of want to play in this range, the other low-on guy, that'd be John Rahm, who is now all of a sudden everybody's most hated golfer. Like him between him and Cam Young, you know, like you have these two guys that nobody likes, and we're only a year away removed from Rom being the best player in the world, and it isn't close. You know, now it's Scheffler's the best player in the world, it isn't close, but it's only a year. You know, so yes, he has a temper. Yep, things don't go his way. He's definitely a front runner, but I don't know. Again, maybe I'm trying to be too fancy here, but I think like Rahm and DeChambeau, they definitely have the lowest chance of getting there. But I think that they're going to be really, really low owned and worth a shot.
Yeah, it's hard to know with Bryce. It doesn't seem like a natural fit here, but we've been saying, I mean, look, going back, I mean, this guy's been basically the best player at the majors outside of Scheffler. And the thing that's interesting to me about Scheffler this week is that if there was one tournament I would want to fade him in, it would be this kind of situation. Just because I do think these courses play very different. We've seen him just demolish everything in this country. Playing the links courses might be an argument for doing something a little bit different. And because I'm very loaded on the lower, like a lot of the cheaper players, I'm finding myself like basically almost above the ownership on almost all these guys, which is kind of weird. The one I have the most of is Scheffler right now, but I'm very happy to pivot to some of the Rory. I think Scheffler, Rory were my two favorites, I guess, if I just had to pick raw points for get ownership. I think that Rahm is a tremendous tournament play. I have 20% of him right now, and he's projected to be 5% owned. I totally am with you on the. It's like people forgot about this guy, and when he's going, he's like Scheffler could be playing his best, and if Rahm is on, he can outplay him. He's one of the few who can do that. So oddly, I know it sounds like I'm sort of a lazy way out, but I guess I'm a little lower on Oberg and a little bit lower on Xander this week. But I guess I'm going to be above the field on most of these guys based on the current projection in terms of ownership, because I'm playing enough of the cheap guys. And I kind of like that strategy for me this week anyway. That's what I'm going to be doing. So pretty much overweight. The biggest difference though is Rahm for me, 20% versus the 5% expected ownership. That's where I'm at. What about down in the 9Ks? Because you got a lot of great, I mean, look, everybody's playing. It feels like you can't go wrong, but some of these guys are going to play terribly, but I don't know who it's going to be yet. So what do you like in this 9K range?
So I think Morikawa is going to be really popular at 9,900. I think that it looks like a good play. Fleetwood, as usual, is going to look good. Hatton, I'm very surprised. I thought they were going to put Hatton at like 7,600 or something like that. I really did.
Kind of crazy, right, to see his price like this?
Yeah, I don't know why I would think that, but
I do. Usually that's
but I would be like at 7,600. I was expecting 7,600 Tyrrell Hatton, 28% ownership. And now he's 9,500, and I still think he's going to be popular for some reason. So I don't know about that. Cantlay, no. I'll tell you my favorite one in the range. My favorite one in the range is actually going to be Victor Hovland. Again, I don't want to play these guys that are like I don't know, Fleetwood, Hatton, Morikawa. They seem like they're all going to be more popular than they should be. The one that I'm waiting for you to talk about is the guy who never plays, Brooks Koepka, but I'll let you handle that. But for me, I guess my favorite in the range is just going to be Victor Hovland.
Yeah, I hear you. I like the ownership on Hovland. That's for sure. That it'll be low, but I am very heavily in Morikawa, and I understand he's going to be popular. I just, again, that's the one. The guys who I own the most in this range are unfortunately going to be some of those guys, because I'm the highest on Morikawa. I love Fleetwood for this tournament. I think this is an awesome tournament for him to actually contend in. And I think that he's actually an interesting bet as an outright winner. I really do. And especially you talk about the win. It seems like every time the weather gets worse, he plays better and everyone else plays worse. So I'm into that. I'm into the Fleetwood quite a bit. And currently above the ownership on my exposure's higher on Brooks than the field is, but it's not by a lot. And so I guess those are my three favorites. And I do have some Hatton. I'm sort of near the field on him. The other guys I'm a little bit underneath. I don't mind the Hovland idea. I like these other guys a little better. And I actually like some of the 8K range maybe more than the field will. So They sort of pair like my double spend up with an 8K guy and then a couple 5K guys. That seems to be the route that I'm mostly taking, outside of the fact that I do really have a lot of Fleetwood and Morikawa. I actually count Morikawa like as a 10K guy. In my head, I keep thinking he's 10K plus. He's 9,900. But all right, how about in the 8K range? Who you're finding yourself exposed to?
Yeah, I'll assume I'm not really playing Cam Smith. Someone made a good case for Finau to me, but I'm just not getting there. I mean, you can make cases for all these, but you can't play everybody. So I'm just going to say that I'm going to be pretty overweight on the Tom Kim. And aside from that, not as exposed to this range as maybe other people.
Well, this is interesting because we're on very different pages, but I like that. I think this is an interesting thing. And I think that I'm right now underweight Kim. I'm going to try and get a little bit more of him. But I'm well into I'm in on the Cam Smith. I think this is the kind of tournament he can win, at least contend in. So I'm going to be higher on Cam Smith. I'm going to be higher, a little bit above the field on Finau. I'll be a little bit below on Hideki, even though I always like Hideki. Be a little bit above on Shane Lowry. I think I'm going to end up getting to more Shane Lowry. The more people I've talked to have made good cases for Lowry and Finau. But the one that I have the biggest difference in is Fitzpatrick. I do like Fitz here quite a bit, and I will be probably at least double, maybe triple even his ownership projection. So that's my big one. I think that an interesting long shot bet to win the tournament, though, would be like Wyndham Clark, because we assume he's going to come out there and it's different and he's going to mess up off the tee and this is not his strength. I think he's an interesting long shot bet because he's like his odds are probably way worse than you're ever going to get him again. So I would take a shot with that type of thing. But the main ones, Lowry, Cam Smith is my number one, and that's mostly what I like in this little range. All right, below 8K. 75 to 79. What do you like down here?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just go back to my dude. I mean, like Aaron Rai just performs every week for me. And I imagine he'll be popular, but, well, sounds good to me. I'll definitely have a lot of him. Who else in this range? There's a guy who I keep thinking is, wait, what was his price? Yeah. Okay. There's a guy that I keep thinking, okay, I got to remember to talk about in the 7K range, but he's actually under 7K for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
So my two favorite guys in this. Oh, I thought we were going to do the whole 7K.
Let's do the whole 7K. That's fine. That's fine.
No, that's fine. So I saw. No, I'm sorry, I mentioned Aaron Rai, but my favorite is going to be your man. It's going to be Joaquin Niemann. I like him at 7,800. Hopefully, he can keep the ball low, into the winds. And that's gonna be my live guy of the week, I think. So Neiman and Rai are gonna be my two favorites overall in the 7K, actually.
Yeah, I don't mind. I actually did not get to Rai much, but I'm making a little note to get maybe a little bit more. I like Cam Young. I like Neiman. I like Corey Connors, and I like Homa.
Do you like Thigala at all?
I'm trying to get like I'll probably be, he's one of those near the field guys. I think the interesting one for me at the zero ownership down at the bottom of this range, I really like. Oh, sorry, that was the other one I'm higher on is Akshay. This is what I set up as my mid exposures. Then I go and edit just to give people what all these red numbers mean. That Saber Sim, as Sheets would say, he yelled at me quite a bit. But I like. So I'll be overweight Akshay. I'll be overweight Seth. I will be overweight. I mean, look, it doesn't take much to get overweight Zalatoris and DJ. But I think that Cam Young is my favorite here. Oh, and I like McIntyre. Sorry, Cam Young and McIntyre are my two highest owned guys here. And again, my ownerships are a little different now than what I said is my original build. That's how I whittled down. It's just a different strategy. Zalatoris at 7,200. We'll see, man. I mean, look, he's been terrible, but like that guy being 7,200. Both he and Max Homa, it feels so weird to see them in this price range because we've never seen it before. Anyway, so it's strange. All right, under 7K.
Well, speaking of which, I'm very famous from this stream for not really getting too much exposure to guys under 7K. So my highest owned guy right now is Sanjay M. I kept on saying to myself, okay, when we talk about top guys 75 to 7,900, him is probably going to show up. Then I'm like, no, I guess he's not in that range. And I keep forgetting he's actually under 7K. If there's a chalk guy here, this has to be it, I imagine. The other guy who it feels so just an easy thing to click, and he's showing up in models too, and everybody's watching them all last week too. But the Adam Scott under 7K, he's another guy that's showing up. It just feels like kind of a sucker play, but I don't think he's going to be he won't be as popular as him. Him is just fine. He doesn't even do anything to pay off this price. That's the thing.
Right.
So I like him quite a bit.
Yeah, you can see my owner, like he's my highest owned guy under 7K, and I think he's going to be the most popular. I'm okay with it. I'm not terribly worried. I like Ryan Fox. Again, I like to get a little over the field on him. I'm adding more Højgaards, both Højgaards for me. I'm going right back to it again. They didn't have the greatest weekend, but they had a good overall tournament last week, and I could have used a little more out of them and maybe gotten a chance to contend with a Sheets-like number last week. And look, it was profitable, but it wasn't anything special. So yeah, you can sort of see I like the Henley. I do like the Bezuidenhout quite a bit, but again, I think I probably have a little too much. I went a little heavy with trying to get Abe Answer, and even when I tried, they didn't really want to give him to me. So I'm going to reconsider the Abe Answer thing. Maybe I'm being too much. So the Højgaards are my main ones here. And but you can see I've got exposure to a bunch of different guys, in the $5 anyway. And I am going to be the sucker who in the $5, but not in the bigger ones, plays Tiger Woods a little bit more than the field.
He made the field.
He says he feels like he can win the tournament. That's good enough for me to take a gamble on it. At least I think people are going to struggle. And anyway, look, I'm talking about, I put up an 8%. I ended up with 5%. 5% is fine with me in the $5. I don't mind taking some shots on it, on Tiger. I know it sounds nuts, but look, it's 5%. It's not everything.
What about what price is that McKibben guy?
So McKibben, I believe, so I am playing McKibben, but I don't, where is he at? 65. Oh yeah, so he's in there too.
Okay.
And I've got him, you can see I've only got I've got him at, I have him more than this because I added more, but I think I've got 6% of them, nothing crazy. But I like the McKibben idea. I think that everybody just jumped off of it. Whereas if he played well last week, he would have been like the highest owned guy other than him in this price range, So I just think that's kind of interesting. But it's sort of spread out a little bit here myself. And again, I'm still trying to firm some things up. I always take a little stab with Taylor Moore. He's just one of my guys. I think Jaeger's kind of interesting. I didn't play, again, I only put 5% on him, but I do think he's kind of an interesting get different play. And then this Langasque, who played well last week, I didn't program to get any of them, and I'm ending up with some of them, and I don't feel bad about it. So I know I'm a little more. Oh, sorry. The other one for me, I hate to do this. I know I've mentioned a lot of names, but you can see I'm above on Matt McNeely. I've actually got to 15% of them now. Once I started, whittling down, and I think it's totally reasonable. I think McNeely is just too cheap at 6K.
Which guy?
Matt McNeely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, then we get into the wild card. So I'm just asking you, do you have many guys down here? Because I'm getting some stuff here.
No, I don't. But I got one amateur.
Okay.
Who's supposedly not bad. What's his name? Guy from Australia, I think. Smiley, I think. Yeah. Hold on. This Elvis Smiley apparently is not terrible.
Smiley. Okay.
I don't know. That means maybe I'll get one lineup with him or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's a British amateur as well, and I just this how prepared I am. I forgot his name. So I really so if you want to do a little work on yourself, but a British amateur who's under 6K. But I'm really not getting too much. I wish I could throw out names that, hey, CT Pan, he's under 6K. Valinaki, Eckroad, he seems solid enough. So I'm not really getting any of these guys though. So I'll leave these to you.
Yeah, so I've got look, I'm spread out in this range, but I am getting little squeaks, little bits of every, like a lot of guys. Nick Taylor, it's just a price point play. Mackenzie Hughes played well last week at 5,900. I think it's a reasonable price. Again, just getting little bits of other guys like Eckroat, Gordon Sargent, who I guess is he still an amateur? I don't know if he still is anymore. I can't remember if he turned officially pro, but I'm high on him for the future. But the one I'm most into, and I'm going to answer the question here from 150 is not me. I love this Manacero. I programmed it only at 8%, and I ended up, after whittling down, I'm getting like 15% of it. I'm probably going to spread that out among some of these other guys. Manacero's been really good, coming off a really good week in an area he knows. I feel like this is a spot where you take a gamble on a guy like this. And like I said, I can do my double spend ups if I can get these guys through. And I think you can get like one of these guys is going to squeak into the top 20. I didn't have the smiley there, but I'm going to probably get to a little bit of it. Just again, a couple percentage points. And I just want to again, I want to treat this tournament as open as I feel like it is in terms of some of these other guys. This tournament means, these guys have the guys who've been around practicing here. I'm going to try and force more of them in. And you can see, like, even just without programming it, SaberSim automatically is giving me some ownership of each of these guys. It's just, look, a couple percentage points. But again, I like the 6K range better, but I think these guys are worth taking some stabs at. And I am probably going to end up with little bits of a lot of them. But the one I'm highest on is definitely Manacero. All right. Wow. This guy get Shrek Braha said he bet Smiley at 5,000 to 1 on Caesars, and then the line moved to. He said the line now has moved to 3,000 to 1. So maybe Smiley's got a chance.
That's it.
How do you get a 5,000 to 1 guy in a golf tournament? That's pretty amazing. Never heard of that.
And to move him to 33,000 to 1, it probably is like a $2 bet.
Yeah. So no problem. 150. You can blame me. I'm falling for it too. The Manacero thing. So. We'll see. And again, my ownerships are going to tighten up a little bit. I haven't done all my final stuff, so we'll figure it out. But we're going to play the game. Sheets, who do you like to win this tournament?
Who do I like to win this tournament? I'll go with Colin Morikawa.
You took my guy, who I was going to take, which I love. Morikawa, I like that quite a bit. I'm going to say, boy, I'd really like to say Jon Rahm here, but it feels a little bit greedy. I think I'm going to do the Rory thing. And I'm sorry. This is one, I don't usually love Rory in things I've been saying for years. He's over-owned and all that stuff. Overall, he's played very, very well. He should have won the US Open, obviously. I'm going to take the Rory, maybe getting it done back, near his homeland, basically. So Rory and Scheffler were my considerations after Morikawa, but that's who I like the most. All right, down under 10K to top 5.
I'll go with Victor Hovland.
You go. Oh, you got the Hovland. Okay, so you go the Hovland. I'm going to go with the Fleetwood.
Okay.
And under 9K, let me just scroll down a little bit. Under 9K to top 10.
I'll go Tom Kim.
Okay, that's going to force me into playing some because I have to play our guys here. All right, I'm going to take Cam Smith.
Okay.
All right, and then we move over to, let's see, under 8K to top 20.
Well, just to be greedy, I really think this guy can top 20, but I don't need to do it. I'll go Joaquin Niemann.
I like it. It makes sense. All right, and I'm going to say Robert McIntyre.
Okay.
Okay, and then under 8K. Wait, what are we at now? No, under
7K to make the cut.
Yeah, I think we should let's try and do the best 6K guy. I think that's probably better for that.
I'm going to go with the guy that you mentioned that I forgot to, just to stress that, and I will say Russell Henley.
Henley, oh, nice, yeah. That's another one that I was getting to. My favorite under 7K is probably going to be Bezuidenhout. I'm still flirting with some other things, but Bezuidenhout is the one I've got. Okay, so we got Henley and Bezuidenhout, and then we've got under 6K. Now we can just do make the cut if you want to.
Yeah, I'll go under 6K. Austin Eckroat.
Okay, Eckroat. And I am going to say, obviously, Manasaro. And who is going to miss the cut above 9K? I think you might have some good options this week. I think there's some of these guys that have a chance not to make the cut. I really do.
I'll go. It just has to be Rahm. I don't know. It just has to be. So I'll go John Rahm.
All right. So you're going with Rahm. I'm going to. I'm going to take a. Man, it's a little tough. I feel like Cantlay either misses the cut or he ends up top 10ing. So I'm going to say Cantlay.
Cantley's a good one for both.
Yeah. Yeah. No, right. He's a good tournament play, and he's a good guy to pick to possibly miss the cut.
Yeah.
Well, it should be a fun week. Anything else, Sheets, we should touch on before we get out?
I think we're good. Watch for the MMA stuff probably tomorrow, and we'll have NASCAR stuff come up, and baseball's back Friday. I might be solo Friday, but we'll get to you Friday.
Awesome, sounds good. Thanks a lot, man. Good to see all you guys. Hope everybody has a good weekend, and hopefully we see